The fall of peace. The Zorian invasion fleet cast long shadows across the stars, their ships like obsidian arrows cutting through space. Each vessel, controlled by hyper-advanced AI, carried within it the potential to end civilizations. They had already proven this capability across dozens of worlds, leaving nothing but ash and silence in their wake. Commander Lyra stood before the Galactic Council's emergency session, her silver-scaled hands trembling as she activated the holographic display. The image showed the burning remains of Althor, once the jewel of the Outer Rim. 3 billion souls, she whispered, her voice carrying in the stunned silence. Gone in less than a planetary rotation. The council chamber, hewn from ancient crystal deep within the neutral space station haven, reflected the grim faces of 24 of the galaxy's most powerful leaders. Each represented a civilization that had achieved space travel centuries, sometimes millennia, before humanity had even mastered flight. Yet now they sat, watching helplessly as their advanced societies crumbled before the Zorian onslaught. Elder Vian, his translucent skin showing the nervous flickering of his internal organs, leaned forward. The Zorian AI has adapted to every defense we've mounted. Our most sophisticated cyber warfare suites, useless. Our quantum shields, penetrated. Our greatest warriors. He paused, mandibles clicking in distress. Slaughtered like children. There might be one option left, Counselor Zith interjected, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with anxiety. Though I fear suggesting it may doom us as surely as the Zorian. The chamber grew even quieter, if possible. Every being present knew what Zith was about to propose. They had all heard the stories, seen the classified reports, witnessed the footage that gave even the most hardened military leaders nightmares. The humans, Zith continued, each word careful and measured. We need the killer humans. Protests erupted immediately. Elder Vian's skin turned almost transparent with shock. The Deathworlders? Have you gone mad? They're barely more than savages. Savages who have never lost a war, Lyra countered, bringing up another hologram. This one showed footage from humanity's first and only contact with a Zorian scout fleet, nearly a decade ago. The battle had been brief, brutal, and decisive. Where other civilizations had fallen before the Zorian's superior technology, humanity had improvised, adapted, and overcome. The human ships, crude by galactic standards, had attacked with such ferocity and unconventional tactics that the Zorian AI had been unable to formulate an effective response. They're monsters, another counselor protested. Have you forgotten the Perseus incident? Or what they did to the cracks when they tried to establish a foothold in human space? Lyra's expression hardened. The Perseus incident was a tragedy, yes. But the cracks invaded a human colony world. The response was. She searched for the right word, proportional, by their standards. Their standards involve nuclear weapons as a valid tactical option. Elder Vian's internal organs were now strobing with stress patterns. Which is exactly why we need them, Zith pressed. The Zorian AI operates on logic, on patterns it can analyze and counter. But humans? They're chaos incarnate. They don't fight like any other species we've encountered. They don't just accept casualties, they expect them. They plan for them. And they keep fighting anyway. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, desperation won out over fear. The vote was close, 13 in favor, 11 opposed. They would seek humanity's help. As the council dispersed, Lyra remained behind, studying the battle footage. She watched as human ships, their hulls breached and burning, continued to fight. She saw human soldiers, exposed to vacuum, using their last moments to place charges on Zorian hulls. There was something terrifying in their determination, yes, but also something inspiring. A message was drafted and encoded with the highest priority protocols. It would be transmitted to Earth using the quantum entanglement network, technology humanity wasn't supposed to know existed yet, but that was the least of their concerns now. The message was simple. To the leaders of Earth, the galaxy burns. The Zorian advance is unstoppable. You are our last hope. We need the killer humans. On Earth, in the depths of the Cheyenne Mountain complex, General Sarah Chen read the message with a grim smile. Humanity had been preparing for this day since they first encountered the Zorian scouts. While the rest of the galaxy saw them as primitive and violent, humanity had been watching, learning, and building. "Send the response," she ordered. "Tell them we accept, but on our terms. And get me Captain Alexander Ryland. It's time to wake the Reaper." In a secure facility buried beneath the Antarctic ice, a cryopod hummed to life. Inside, Captain Alexander Ryland's vital signs began to stabilize. She had been kept in suspended animation since the Perseus incident, deemed too dangerous to remain active during peacetime. But peace was over. As medical staff prepared for her revival, few could shake the feeling that they were about to unleash something that couldn't be contained. They weren't wrong. Alexander Ryland wasn't just a soldier, she was humanity's answer to the question, how far would you go to survive? The galaxy was about to find out. The Reaper rises. The Antarctic medical facility buzzed with controlled chaos as Captain Alexander Ryland's cryopod completed its revival sequence. Through the frosted glass, her form was barely visible, but everyone present could feel her presence. The room's temperature seemed to drop several degrees as the pod's seals released with a pneumatic hiss. Dr. Sarah Wong, the facility's chief medical officer, approached the pod with practiced caution. She had read the files, watched the footage from the Perseus incident. She knew what Ryland was capable of. "Vital signs are stable," she announced, checking the monitors. "Brain activity is normalizing. She's ready." The pod's cover slid open, releasing a cloud of cryovapor. Captain Alexander Ryland sat up slowly, her movements precise, despite having been frozen for 3 years. Her eyes, a striking shade of gray that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, surveyed the room with predatory focus. "How long?" Her voice was rough from disuse, but carried an unmistakable note of command. 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days, General Chen answered, stepping forward. "We wouldn't have woken you if it wasn't urgent." Ryland swung her legs over the side of the pod, accepting the medical gown offered by a nervous technician. "The Zorian? They're back. And they'd been busy." Chen activated a holographic display, showing the path of destruction across the galaxy. 27 civilizations wiped out in the past standard year alone. "The Galactic Council has officially requested our help." A cold smile crossed Ryland's face. "They must be desperate." "They are. And so are we. The Zorian fleet heading toward Earth is larger than anything we've ever encountered. Conservative estimates put it at over 10,000 ships." Ryland stood, her 6'2" frame imposing even in the medical gown. "Show me what we've got." The briefing room was stark and utilitarian, like most human military installations. But the technology on display would have shocked the Galactic Council. Humanity had not been idle during their self-imposed isolation. "Project Prometheus," Chen explained, bringing up schematics of a new class of warship. "We reversed-engineered what we could from the Zorian scout fleet you encountered and combined it with our own innovations. They're faster, more maneuverable, and armed with weapons the Zorian AI won't be prepared for." Ryland studied the designs with intense focus. "Quantum phase torpedoes? Theoretical physics made real. Impressive. We also have this." Chen revealed another schematic, this one causing even Ryland to raise an eyebrow. "The Thanatos Protocol. It's a virus, but not like anything that's existed before. It doesn't just attack the Zorian AI, it rewrites reality on a quantum level within their processing cores." "That's insane," Ryland commented, though her tone suggested approval rather than criticism. "You're talking about weaponizing quantum uncertainty itself. Desperate times." Chen's expression was grim. "The virus is ready, but we need someone to get it into their command and control network. Someone who can think like them but fight like us. Someone who can't be predicted. Someone like me." Ryland finished the thought. "The Council is sending representatives to Earth. They want to coordinate our response, share intelligence. Chen's tone made it clear what she thought of that idea. They want to control us, Ryland corrected. Make sure we don't do anything too primitive or barbaric. The last words dripped with sarcasm. Exactly. Which is why you'll have full autonomy. The Council doesn't need to know about the Thanatos Protocol or your real mission. As far as they're concerned, you're just leading our fleet in a conventional defense of Earth. Ryland moved to the window, looking out over the Antarctic wasteland. They still don't understand, do they? This isn't about defense. The Zorian need to be ended, completely and permanently. They're a cancer in the galaxy, and you don't treat cancer by defending against it. That's why we need the Reaper, Chen said quietly. Not just a soldier, but someone willing to do whatever it takes. Someone who understands that in a war for survival, there are no rules. Ryland turned back to the room, and for a moment, everyone present saw what had earned her the nickname. There was something in her eyes that went beyond determination or courage, something that spoke of an absolute, unwavering commitment to victory at any cost. Get me to my ship, she ordered. I need to meet my crew. The Nemesis, Ryland's new command, hung in high Earth orbit like a predator waiting to strike. Its design was unlike anything in human or alien fleets, all sharp angles and matte black surfaces that seemed to drink in starlight. It was a ship built for one purpose, to carry death to humanity's enemies. As Ryland's shuttle approached, she studied the vessel through the viewport. The Council representatives would be arriving within hours, bringing with them their concerns and their constraints. But they didn't understand what humanity had learned long ago, that sometimes survival required embracing the darkness within. Welcome back, Captain, the ship's AI greeted as she stepped onto the bridge. Unlike the rigid, logic-bound AIs of the Zorian, human artificial intelligence had been developed to be adaptive, creative, and most importantly, loyal. Status report, Ryland commanded, settling into the captain's chair. All systems operational. Crew at 100% readiness. Thanatos Protocol integrated into main weapons systems. We're ready to hunt. Ryland allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy had asked for the killer humans, and they were about to get exactly what they asked for. But first, she had a little show to put on for the Council representatives. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin, and Alexander Ryland, the Reaper, would write its opening chapter in Fire and Blood, First Contact, Last Warning. The Galactic Council delegation arrived in Earth orbit aboard their flagship, the Celestial Harmony. The vessel's organic curves and crystalline surfaces stood in stark contrast to the angular, predatory form of the Nemesis. As the alien representatives boarded through the connection tunnel, Captain Ryland noted their barely concealed disgust at human military aesthetics. Councillor Lyra led the delegation, her silver scales shimming under the harsh LED lighting. Behind her, Elder Vian's translucent form pulsed with nervous energy, while Zitha's bioluminescent patterns betrayed their anxiety. They were accompanied by a dozen other representatives from various species, each more exotic than the last. Welcome aboard the Nemesis, Ryland greeted them, her voice carrying the same warmth as a tactical nuclear strike. I trust you'll find our accommodations adequate. The briefing room they were led to was spartanly furnished by Council standards, but the holographic displays showing real-time fleet movements across the galaxy were cutting edge. The delegates took their seats, many shifting uncomfortably in chairs designed for human physiology. We've received reports, Lyra began, that the Zorian fleet has altered course. They're no longer heading directly for Earth. Ryland's expression didn't change. They're splitting their forces. Standard pincer movement. Basic tactical doctrine. Basic? Elder Vian's internal organs flickered with indignation. They're deploying over 10,000 ships in a formation that spans half the sector. Numbers don't win battles, Ryland replied coolly. Strategy does. And the Zorian, for all their technological superiority, are predictable. Their AI thinks in patterns, in probability matrices. They lack imagination. She activated a holographic display, showing the approaching Zorian fleet. they'll attack in waves. First, their scout ships will probe our defenses, looking for weaknesses. Then their heavy cruisers will attempt to establish a blockade, cutting off any escape routes. Finally, their dreadnoughts will move in for the kill. And how do you propose to counter such overwhelming force? Zith asked, their patterns pulsing with genuine curiosity. Ryland's smile was predatory. By giving them exactly what they expect, at first. The plan she outlined over the next hour left the council representatives pale, or their species equivalent. It wasn't just aggressive, it was suicidal by their standards. Human ships would engage in close-quarters combat, deliberately taking hits to get within range of their experimental weapons. Fighters would perform maneuvers that would kill most species, relying on the enhanced G-force resistance of human pilots. This is madness, Elder Vian protested. You'll lose half your fleet in the first engagement. Probably more, Ryland agreed calmly. But we'll take a lot of them with us. And more importantly, we'll establish a pattern, make them think they understand how humans fight. Only to break that pattern at the crucial moment, Lyra realized, her scales rippling with sudden understanding. Exactly. Ryland brought up another display, this one showing a massive object hidden in the Kuiper belt. While we keep them occupied with our primitive tactics, our real surprise will be getting into position. The council representatives leaned forward, studying the mysterious object. Before they could ask questions, alarms blared throughout the ship. Multiple Zorian signatures detected, the ship's AI announced. Scout fleet approaching from the Oort cloud. Estimated time to weapons range, 30 minutes. Ryland's demeanor shifted instantly from briefing mode to combat readiness. Well, ladies, gentlemen, and others, it seems you'll get a front-row seat to see how humans wage war. I suggest you strap in. This ride's about to get bumpy. The council representatives were escorted to a secure observation room as the Nemesis's crew sprang into action. Through the viewports, they watched as human ships took up attack positions, their formations looking chaotic and disorganized to alien eyes. All ships, this is the Reaper, Ryland's voice echoed through the fleet channels. Remember your training. Remember Earth. But most importantly, remember this, today we show these mechanical bastards why the galaxy calls us killers. The first shots of the battle were moments away, and with them, the beginning of a war that would redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. The council representatives watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as humans prepared to do what they did best, survive at any cost. Little did they know that everything they were about to witness was just the opening act of Ryland's true plan. The Thanatos Protocol remained hidden, waiting for its moment to rewrite the rules of reality itself. Dance of Death. The Zorian scout fleet emerged from FTL in a perfect attack formation, their ships moving with mechanical precision. To the council representatives watching from the Nemesis's observation deck, it was like watching death itself advance across the void. But Captain Ryland saw something different, she saw predictability. All ships, execute Battle Plan Theta, she commanded. Fighters, you're cleared hot. Show them why we call you Valkyries. The human fleet exploded into action. Fighter squadrons accelerated at forces that would have killed any other species, their pilots enhanced by genetic engineering and neural interfaces. The larger ships moved in seemingly random patterns, breaking every rule of space combat that the council races held sacred. They're not maintaining formation. Elder Vian exclaimed, his translucent body nearly transparent with stress. Their ships are exposing their flanks. Lyra watched more carefully, her tactical training allowing her to see patterns where others saw chaos. No, they're creating confusion. The Zorian AI can't predict their movements because there's no logic to predict. The first exchange of fire lit up space like artificial stars. Zorian energy weapons lanced out with perfect accuracy, only to hit empty space as human ships performed maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Human return fire was wild, scattered, and seemingly ineffective, except for the occasional shot that somehow found its mark with devastating effect. Status report, Ryland demanded, standing calmly on her bridge as the ship shuddered from a near miss. 6 ships lost, her AI responded. But the Zorian are falling for it. Their targeting algorithms are adapting to our apparent pattern of randomness. Ryland allowed herself a small smile. Perfect. Signal the Valkyries. Time for Phase 2. The human fighters, which had been performing their chaotic dance around the edges of the battle, suddenly formed up into tight formations. To the Zorian AI, it would appear that the humans were finally reverting to conventional tactics out of desperation. The council representatives gasped as they watched the fighters charge directly at the Zorian ships, their formations so tight they seemed to be touching. "They'll be annihilated," someone shouted. But at the last possible moment, the formations broke apart in ways that should have been impossible, each fighter releasing a payload of quantum-phase torpedoes before spinning away. The weapons, designed to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, passed right through the Zorian shields as if they weren't there. Explosions rippled through the Zorian fleet as ships began dying from wounds that bypassed every defense they had. But Ryland wasn't satisfied with merely bloodying their nose. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega," she ordered. "Let's show them what humanity's been working on during our isolation." The human fleet's ships suddenly began emitting a strange energy signature that made the council representatives' scanning equipment go haywire. The Zorian ships, heavily dependent on their sensors, began to show signs of confusion, their perfect formation wavering. What are you doing to them?" Zith asked, their bioluminescence flickering with a mixture of fear and awe. "Quantum ghost imaging," Ryland explained, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "We're making their sensors see every possibility in the quantum waveform simultaneously. Their AI can't process paradox." The battle had devolved into chaos, real chaos, not the controlled chaos of the human attack. Zorian ships fired at phantom targets or failed to fire at all, their AI cores struggling to make sense of a reality that suddenly refused to follow proper laws of cause and effect. "Signal the Helios," Ryland commanded. "The door is open." From behind Jupiter's largest moon, a massive ship emerged. Unlike the other human vessels, this one gleamed like polished chrome, its surface covered in arrays that pulsed with strange energy. The council representatives had never seen anything like it, but they could feel its purpose in their bones. This was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Helios powered up its main array, targeting the largest concentration of confused Zorian ships. What happened next defied description. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist around the target area. Zorian ships didn't explode or break apart, they simply ceased to be, their quantum waveforms collapsed into impossibility. "By the first ones," Lyra whispered. "You've weaponized reality itself." Ryland's expression remained neutral, but there was a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. This was just a scout fleet. A test run. The real battle hasn't even begun yet. As the remaining Zorian ships retreated in disarray, the council representatives looked at their human allies with new eyes. They had asked for the killer humans, expecting savage warriors. Instead, they had gotten something far more terrifying, a species that had turned the fundamental laws of physics into weapons. The galaxy would never be the same after this day. But for Captain Alexander Ryland, this was just the beginning. The Thanatos Protocol was still waiting to be unleashed, and with it, the true power of humanity's response to extinction-level threats. The real war was about to begin, and the galaxy would learn why humanity had chosen to isolate itself, not out of weakness, but to protect others from what they were capable of becoming when pushed too far. Thanatos ascending. The aftermath of the Scout Fleet battle left the galaxy reeling. News spread quickly through the quantum entanglement network, carrying with it footage that seemed impossible to believe. The killer humans hadn't just defeated a Zorian fleet, they had rewritten the rules of warfare itself. But Captain Alexander Ryland knew the real fight was just beginning. In her private quarters aboard the Nemesis, she reviewed the battle data with General Chen via quantum link. "The Helios performed better than expected," Chen reported. "But the energy requirements are massive. We won't be able to use it against their main fleet without risking a cascade failure." Ryland nodded, her expression grim. It served its purpose. The Zorian will be adapting their strategies now, trying to counter what they think is our ultimate weapon. They won't be expecting the Thanatos Protocol. The Council representatives are demanding answers about our capability to manipulate quantum states, Chen warned. They're starting to realize we're far more advanced than we've let on. Let them wonder, Ryland replied. We need them focused on the obvious while we prepare for the endgame. She pulled up a new set of data showing the movements of the main Zorian fleet. They're gathering their forces faster than predicted. We have maybe 48 hours before they launch their main assault. Are you sure about this? Chen asked quietly. The Thanatos Protocol, once we activate it, there's no going back. The very fabric of reality will be altered. Ryland's eyes hardened. The Zorian gave up their right to exist in this reality when they started wiping out entire civilizations. Sometimes survival requires becoming what your enemies fear most. The next day, as the human fleet prepared for the coming battle, Ryland called a meeting with the Council representatives. They needed to understand enough to play their part, without knowing the full scope of humanity's plans. The Zorian aren't just coming to destroy Earth, she explained, showing them new tactical projections. They're coming to eliminate the only force that's ever truly threatened them. This will be their entire fleet, every ship, every drone, every AI core. How can you be certain? Lyra asked, her scales shimmering with concern. Because that's what I would do, Ryland answered simply. When you find a threat you can't predict or control, you commit everything to eliminating it. The Zorian think like I do, they just lack the imagination to see how that predictability can be used against them. The plan she outlined was audacious. The human fleet would appear to repeat their successful tactics from the scout battle, drawing the Zorian into a massive engagement near Saturn's rings. The Helios would make another appearance, seemingly attempting to replicate its reality-warping attack on a larger scale. What she didn't tell them was that every human ship was carrying a piece of the Thanatos Protocol, waiting to be activated. The entire battle plan was designed not to win the fight, but to position every Zorian ship within the quantum field that would be generated when the protocol was triggered. The final battle began exactly as Ryland had predicted. The Zorian fleet arrived in overwhelming numbers, their ships blotting out the stars. But they were cautious now, their formations adapted to counter the chaos tactics they had witnessed. They're executing exactly the response pattern we predicted, Ryland's AI reported. All ships are within the quantum field range. Ryland opened a channel to all human ships. All vessels, execute Operation Prometheus. Remember Earth. Remember humanity. Remember why we fight. The battle that followed would be spoken of in whispered tones for generations to come. Human ships performed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, their crews pushing their enhanced bodies to the absolute limit. The Zorian responded with overwhelming firepower, their AI adapting and learning with each exchange. But it was all a dance, a carefully choreographed performance leading to one moment. When the Helios appeared and powered up its main array, the Zorian fleet moved exactly as predicted, consolidating their forces to counter what they believed to be humanity's superweapon. Now, Ryland commanded. The Thanatos Protocol activated simultaneously across every human ship. But instead of destroying the Zorian fleet, it did something far more fundamental. The quantum field generated by the protocol began rewriting the very laws of physics within its sphere of influence. The Zorian AI, bound by the logical laws of the universe, began to fail as those laws changed. Their ships, their weapons, their very existence began to unravel as reality itself rejected them. From the observation deck, the Council representatives watched in horror and awe as the mighty Zorian fleet simply ceased to be, their ships dissolving into quantum probability waves that could never resolve into physical form again. What have you done? Zith whispered, their bioluminescence barely visible. We evolved, Ryland answered quietly. The universe has rules, but we learned to change them. The Zorian thought they could predict us, control us, eliminate us. Instead, they forced us to become something new, something that could rewrite reality itself to ensure survival. The battle was over, but its implications were just beginning to ripple through the galaxy. Humanity had revealed itself not just as warriors, but as shapers of reality itself. The killer humans had become something far more terrifying, they had become gods. As the quantum ripples settled and the laws of physics reasserted themselves, Ryland looked out at the now empty battlefield. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was for the best. Sometimes survival required becoming the monster that other monsters feared. The council representatives departed soon after, carrying with them stories that would reshape galactic civilization. They had asked for the killer humans, and they had gotten something far more profound, a species that had looked at the laws of the universe and decided they were merely suggestions.